Hello and welcome to episode 101 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is July 23rd, 2018. I am Rollo McFlugel and with me is Slappy Jones 2, and we are both at McFlugel.com. The show notes page for this episode is McFlugel.com/101, where you'll be able to subscribe to this podcast and all the places we have it, and also check out LibertyMugs.com. And last night I just put out a new mug, because I wanted to make sure I serve all of the markets, because I don't want to make people feel like they can't participate in the fun that we have at Liberty Mug. So I made a mug. It's simple. It just says Milk Toast Lameness. So if you like Gary Johnson and Bill Weld and all that kind of stuff, and you want to be that sort of as I do air quotes libertarian, we have a mug for you. And you can proudly show off the kind of libertarian you are with that mug. So,
hashtag Weld 2020.
Yeah, that's how you make positive change for libertarianism in the world. So, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Slappy, and he's going to introduce our episode topic for this episode. Episode topic for this episode.
The topic episode. Thank you, Rollo. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Slappy Jones 2. This is the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that came up in our Twitter chat. It was probably a week or two ago. And
it's probably longer than that.
It may have been. Yeah, it might have been 2-3 weeks. I didn't take screenshots. And so I don't remember exactly what was said. So hopefully we touch on it. But basically, the idea came up that, say it was Ancapistan and you had a bus going across the country, would it be unethical to charge people different prices along the ride, or even not along the ride? Just, say someone wants to ride 3 hours and it costs $50, and you pick someone up there and you take him 3 hours and charge him $100. Is that unethical? And Rollo and I, we chimed in a little bit and said, no, it's not unethical. And we want to get into that a little bit. So, Rollo, your initial thoughts on that. Is it unethical to charge different prices to different people?
No, of course not. Even Jesus agrees with that. The parable of the workers in the field. It's a little bit different because he's
yeah, not everyone here is Christian, I'm sure. Why don't you explain that one a little bit?
Yeah, so it's the story goes that there's a guy who owns a vineyard, and he needs to hire people to work in his field. So he goes out at dawn and finds some people. They go out, work at the field. He goes again at around the middle of the day, finds some more people, still wants to hire more after that. So in the evening, when there's only maybe an hour or two of work left in the day, he goes out again, finds some more workers, and sends them to his vineyard to work. And at the end of the day, he's got to settle up with everybody, and he pays the guys that came in last the full day's wage. Pays the guys that only worked a half day, brings them in, he pays them a full day's wage, and then the people who started early in the morning, did a full day's of work, probably some back-breaking labor too. They were standing there watching what was happening, being like, man, we're probably going to get a big payday out of this. He's paying these guys that, and he settles up with them, but gives them a day's wage. And
they whine about it.
Yeah, they got upset, and the owner of the vineyard says, like, what are you complaining about? You agreed to the day's wage. I mean, it's my money, it's my vineyard. What right do you have to interfere with or say anything about what I pay my other employees that we agreed on that price? So it had to do about getting into heaven. Right. You could live a terrible life all your life, and if you repent at the end, you can get into heaven, just like someone who lived a perfectly righteous life their entire life. But it's the parable's based on something real. I mean, that's the reason why it was a parable. You can't make a parable that's based on something that isn't true,
or something that the people wouldn't understand.
Right.
Or you're making a point to the people you're talking to. You say, hey, you guys understand it's your farm, you're doing this, you would be totally within your right to pay your workers whatever they agreed to work for.
Sure. And just still going off these workers in the vineyard, the next day when they see this vineyard owner coming around, they might say, "Hey, I don't want to work for this guy because I don't like the way he pays his people," and that's fine. I mean, no one's going to say that they can't do that. No one's going to force them to work for this guy. That would be insane. That would, it's we don't want forced labor anywhere. That should
Right.
be pretty obvious. So it's easy. You should be able to flip it right back around, and instead of offering a price to buy something from someone, that being their labor in the case of the vineyard, it's the same difference if you're charging someone.
Now, so I think most libertarians should believe in property rights and should agree that you can do what you want with your property. Now, my guess is what some people may be saying is, sure, you can do that, but does that make it ethical? Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Yeah, well,
Because I think they could all agree. Like, say I have a store, and if you live on this street, I'm going to charge you $5, and on that street, I'm going to charge you $10 for whatever I'm selling, a can of soda. It's really good soda. Would that be unethical?
no, I mean they're all voluntary arrangements. All
I don't think ethics come into it, really.
No, and maybe I think maybe someone might say it's unethical just because they have a loose definition of ethics. But a transaction, an exchange that would be considered unethical would be something where fraud or theft was involved. If you lied about how much you're going to charge to someone, that would be unethical. Like if in the vineyard that the
guy said, "I'll pay you per hour."
Yeah, or he says that hey, I might be hiring some people later in the day, but don't worry, I'm going to pay you more. That might be that's probably not good. That's probably a little bit, maybe a little bit fraudulent there. But to just charge someone a different price, and even
Well, the reality is we see this all the time.
sure,
I mean, if you clip a coupon in the newspaper and you go to the store, they're going to charge you less than the guy behind you. Why? Because you found a thing in a newspaper?
right?
I mean, that seems so weird and arbitrary, but they do it.
And isn't it only, I forget where I heard this, but it's only a recent thing that that stores even have prices.
Yeah, one of my favorites, John Wanamaker,
Yeah.
Philly guy, had this department stores, and he's at least credited for the idea of, I forget the quote, but it's one price and you can return anything. And he revolutionized department stores and retail, because you knew now when you walked in the Wanamaker store, you knew what the price was. They say he invented the price tag. So before, and that was in the middle 1800s, I believe, late 1800s.
And that's even, I mean, I'll get a little nitpicky here, but the price tag, that's not even really the price. It's the asking price. The price is what it was actually sold for. So when you look at it that way, the asking price is when you put it through that kind of frame of reference, that sounds more like it's a negotiable thing. And so when you look at the idea of the bus and charging different prices for different people, it's like when you say, "Hey, you want to ride my bus?" The asking price is $100. Well, why can't you say, "Hey, that seems unreasonable. I know that you charge this other guy $75, so I want to ride for $75." And maybe he says yes, maybe he says no. But a better example instead of like a department store, because you don't really haggle on those prices there. But
Not anymore.
right, but go to a car dealership and look at, and if it'd be interesting to look at their books and see what they were charging for each car. And they've got a lot of cars that are basically identical on their lot. And it'd be interesting to see how much they actually end up, what the price ends up being on those cars. I'm sure there's a bunch of differences. Or just an example of my own life is when I brought up recently about we talked about that as a free market success story with the air conditioner.
Right.
And I had a couple different people come in to give me prices. And the one guy came in pretty low and was good. And he wanted to lock me in. Offered me. We did some negotiations. He gave me the price and everything, and I was kind of like, well, what about it? What about putting a heat pump in? I think I'd maybe like to do that. And he put in the heat pump without charging any more money. So there was a negotiation. He locked me in with that price and gave me a week to cancel it. I told him I was going to do this, but I brought someone else I know that I knew was going to be able to probably beat his price, and he did. So I called up and canceled, and he called back and he's like, "Man, I already put money into your your permit and everything at the township. I have money sunk into this. What can I do to keep your business?" And he's like, "What if I match his price?" So we were still negotiating. Like there's a it's the asking. We shouldn't get caught up in just like thinking that the asking price is, this concrete thing that there's no way to get around it. Now, for silly things like not silly, but small things like a department store, you're for a lot of reasons you're not going to haggle on because their margins are probably such that they're probably kind of low.
They don't care to haggle because if you don't want it, they'll sell it to the next guy.
Right. And also, I mean, if you're buying something for $10, what do you get out of getting $9.75 for it by haggling for it?
Right.
But there's all sorts of other things where you end up haggling for prices.
Houses.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one.
I mean, you could have the same neighborhood, same street, same exact house, just in a slightly different location with a completely different price than the one next door to it.
Yeah, I think only in extremely competitive buyers markets do you get the actual selling price to be what the asking price is.
And then here's another thing. How about this? Because I'll hear people say this from time to time, or you'll hear stories of it. Like I got I bought a used car off an old lady who put 1,000 miles on it. It's a 2015, and she just doesn't drive anymore, and she was getting rid of it, and so I bought it for $10,000. Is that unethical for you to buy it for $10,000?
No, I don't.
If she could have sold it, well, of course not. But it's the flip side. If buyers are happy with getting a good deal, are they being unethical in not giving the seller what they could have gotten for it somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean,
it's just the flip side of the transaction that no one ever thinks about.
Yeah, well, on top of that, everyone loves to brag about the great deal that they got.
Of course.
Yeah,
no one would say that's unethical.
And some people might I think it happened to my dad one time because he's a musician. He's got pretty good knowledge of some instruments, and someone had like a vintage guitar or something he was trying to sell him, and the guy didn't know what he had, and so I think my dad was actually
a really
like,
nice one.
Yeah, he's like, I can't just like. He's like, I would feel guilty. So I mean, you can do that. Because some people, I guess in my dad's case, he felt better charging more.
What he felt was a fair price.
Right.
Or what he was willing to pay for it anyway.
Right. Instead of feeling guilty, whether or not he should feel guilty or not, I mean, it's up to him. But that's, I mean, certainly a nice gesture to do to someone. But also what I think about what some of the confusion is that they say, should you or should you not? Let's go back to the case of the bus and charging. Let's say I get charged $100 to ride in the bus, and you get charged $200 to ride in the bus. where I think people get confused is that they will say it's not. They'll say it should not. They should not do that because it's bad for business. Because if people find out that, hey, I just got charged $200, but this guy sitting next to me is only got charged $100, they might not ride on that bus anymore, and they might go on. Especially now in the age of the internet, you can go on all sorts of review sites and give people a piece of your mind. So it might not be in your best interest as a business or as seller to do that. That may very well be the case.
And on top of that, I mean, this is supply and demand, right? So when he's talking about the bus and he says in one location you might charge someone $50 and then in the next 100. Well, maybe in the one location he pulls up to the bus stop and there's one guy standing there. And the guy says, "Oh, you're heading to Chicago? I'll give you $50." And the driver says, "No, it's $100," and leaves. Well, now he doesn't get anything. So say they did haggle and the driver accepts the $50. He takes the guy to Chicago. When he gets to Chicago, there's a line a mile long of people waiting to get on that bus, and he says $100, and people are more than happy to pay $100. What does that signal tell you? Right? Like, there should be more buses in that area, which would drive the price down. But it's not unethical.
Right.
There's just a greater demand in Chicago than wherever they picked up that guy. So the prices are lower where there's less people, less demand for the bus.
Well, that's why you need entrepreneurship, because an entrepreneur, and I'm stealing stuff that J.W. Weatherman talks about, the guy we had on episode 90. An entrepreneur, that bus driver, would say, like, well, all right, in Chicago there's a lot of money, so if I can transport buses from elsewhere where they're not really being used that well into Chicago, we can put that resource to a lot better use. We can charge a lot more money there, and he gets rewarded with the higher price and charging, and so he's making good use of resources and creating more wealth.
Right, and let's say this bus company is, for whatever reason, located in the middle of, like, Lancaster or like, Western Chester County, South Chester County,
Shipshawana.
Yeah, Shipshawana, like middle of nowhere, Shipshawana, Indiana, right? And he's got these buses stationed there, maybe because it's cheap or whatever. He's able to get land there to keep his buses. And he's going to go to Chicago. He wants to bring the buses to Chicago because he knows there's lots of people there. He's got to drive them to Chicago. He might as well, if people want to go there, take them for what they're willing to pay, what he's willing to accept on it. And that would be a reason to charge the people in Shipshawana a lower price than the people in Chicago, where the demand is, where the buses are needed.
Yep.
And it's not unethical.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Also, I have, bringing up the it's funny how many examples I can take from this air conditioner thing. I have another example of this happening, kind of, or at least something kind of similar. But when I first needed it when I realized, all right, there's something wrong with my air conditioner, something needs to get fixed, I called the one company and kind of knew they were going to be expensive, but knew that they, drop of a hat, show up and do a good job. And so I ended up getting my system recharged, and it was a lot of money to do it. But I was fine with doing that, knowing that I could have called someone else and they would have probably done the same thing. It was worth it to me to spend a lot more money just for the peace of mind, to be able to think that it's going to get done. They're going to do a thorough job to find whatever's wrong with it, and maybe not fix it completely, but give me a fighting chance for a little bit. So I was willing to, pay maybe, I don't know what someone else would have charged, but just knowing how much they charge for installing a new heater and air conditioner, maybe double what I would have otherwise done. It's not, it's nice to have those options. It's nice to have the premium option out there to be able to say, hey, I want this done because I know there's other stuff that comes along with that higher price, hopefully.
And one more example we'll throw out there. One way the market could handle people charging different prices, and you will see this happen. I can think of examples in my head. But let's just say in this town, they are charging white people $5 and black people $10. Why wouldn't a white guy go in there and buy it and then sell it to the black guy out front for $6? Now, it's still a greater price. But it's not good business for him to be charging different people different prices based on skin color, but the market would quickly solve that, or someone would set up a store close by and charge the same price that's profitable for everyone, which would drive him out of business. And so even if I guess we could say that would seem, although it's still the business owner's property and he can do what he wants with it, and it's clearly a bad business move, I think it would be, more people would be willing to say that's unethical. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, just because it's based on racial.
Yes, like people would say that's unethical because it's based on race instead of finding a coupon,
Right.
Which seems arbitrary too.
But hey, I mean, black people can make someone a whole lot of money.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not, and people would probably do it for free. I mean, I'm going in the store anyway. If someone said, "Hey, man, they charge me $10, they charge you $5. You mind? Here's $5. You mind getting me that?" I would say, "Sure, no problem."
Yeah.
And I think most people would. So, they may not even have to charge the extra. But I see that talk about prohibition, underage drinkers trying to get booze. They can't go in the store and get it themselves. So what I've heard many of them do is pay someone out front to go in and get it for them, or just give someone money to go in and get it for them. And it works that way already.
Yeah.
So I think the market would solve all these problems.
Well, I mean, if someone was charging $10 for a black guy to ride a bus where everyone else was $1, I mean, it's the classic. There's a huge profit opportunity to bus black people.
High prices are the cure for high prices, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would bring more people. That someone would be like, "Wow, I can be profitable charging these people $1. I'm going to go do that."
Exactly. So it's that kind of stuff. There's nothing to fear there,
unless you need to be licensed in order to operate in that area. And barriers preventing you from doing that.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, does it?
It might.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the topic of this podcast anyway?
Prices.
No, not the episode. Come on.
Oh.
Those people who run all the licenses.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a pod. Does the podcast have a topic, or does it have more of a theme?
All right, fine. It's a theme.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
And our theme is tractors. So it gets brought up every episode.
When did that start?
More than a year ago, because I remember one of the guests we had, I felt really awkward about like bringing it up out of nowhere. So I explained it.
And I'm pretty sure it started just because you talked about your tractor like 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm. I think there's maybe an article or two about the tractor. I think I've had one about the cat too.
Probably.
What are the one that I wrote? What was the last episode I wrote about? I don't think it had anything to do with what we're talking about. I wrote it this weekend. Man. Oh. Man. I can't think of what it was.
Wait, the article you just wrote?
Yeah. What was that about?
Oh.
I could look it up, but.
Let's see if do we have a website that we could find it on?
I don't know. These are technical questions. You want murderers?
You wrote
and
a real
rape?
quick one.
Yeah, you want that's so
right.
quick that I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
You want murderers and rapists walking around, don't you? But yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with what we're just talking about. So kind of a non sequitur anyway.
But Rollo wrote an article, so go check it out.
Yeah. Finally wrote an article. I haven't been doing much of that.
Not either have I.
Which actually I do like.
I love writing.
Yeah, and I do want to do a little bit more of it. It's been a busy summer. So
Especially
other
when you ride a
stuff.
tractor to work. It takes a
Yeah.
lot longer.
Oh yeah, other stuff's been going on. I was actually I guess did you have more stuff you want to talk about with prices?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it. It's a short episode.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which is fine. I guess free market success story. Even though I talked about air conditioners all the time, but I kind of got one. We didn't talk about. I don't know if you had anything, but since it's
Go
such a
for
short
it.
episode, we can even do two if you want. But I mentioned this before as a free market success story. I took my certification test this morning, and
And where do you work? I don't think you've ever brought that up.
Oh, an oil refinery.
Got it.
So I was taking a certification test from API, the American Petroleum Institute, and API doesn't give the test themselves. They contract it out to another company that just their business is they give tests, which I didn't realize that.
That's how I do my CLU courses.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. You just have companies
Test
that
centers.
yeah, that's their whole business model.
do.
And so, I went in and they want to make sure, so one API and any sort of certification company wants to make sure that their certifications, that their standards are legitimate. And so the test company has to make sure that they let these like API and other companies like that know that they're getting good results on their tests, like they're accurate. So, when you go in, you picked a number, got called in, you had to empty your pockets. They gave you a little key for a locker to put your stuff in. You had to sign in and out of the test room with your photo ID. You pull your pockets out. They did like a little metal detector wand, and then had cameras in the test room too.
And signs saying Big Brother is watching.
Yeah, and I think they claimed they were also recording audio too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very strict about the rules and everything. Even though I don't think that there was anybody else taking the test that I was taking there too. There might have been. But so there's a huge incentive. They're being very secure in what they're doing. And they don't need the government to come in and say, this is how you shall make sure that the tests are taken. And it was kind of reminded me of the TSA and everything. That if there were actual threats that people were going to be, bringing down a lot of planes or doing attacks that way, there's a huge incentive for the airlines to make sure that they're safe. So there would be some sort of security. I don't think it would be, grabbing people's genitals like they do at TSA. Because
Probably not.
Yeah, the old lady there today doing my little inspection did not touch me. It's amazing. It's amazing how you're, when it's a private entity doing this stuff, they treat you a little bit with a little bit more respect.
And really, in these test centers, at least in my experience, they took my glasses off to look on the insides of my glasses. I don't have thick frames. I mean, you can pretty much see my glasses, but they inspected my glasses. They provide a pen and a notepad for you.
Yep. They gave me a calculator, and
they give you a calculator. Exactly. So there's really, if you're cheating in these places, you spent way too much time trying to figure out how to cheat instead of studying your material, because they do a great job, I think, of making sure no one's cheating.
Yeah, and if they do, and I was sitting there thinking about it too, like, who in the world would come in here and try to cheat? Like, you're kind of a jerk, and two, you're not going to get away with it.
There's no way.
Which is good, because if they do catch you, they don't have to come in and arrest you or something, or commit violence. You just fail. And when you go to if they said that, oh, you cheated, Rollo, and we're sending a failure to API.
And for the reason of cheating.
Right. And I call API up and say, hey, this is bull. I didn't cheat. Well, they're going to say, well, here's the video recording of you doing it, or whatever evidence they have. And it's like, okay, well, API is going to say, yeah, you fail.
And they'll either never approve you for their certification, or maybe they have some kind of cooling off period, or maybe they'll give you a second chance, but that's up to them and how strict they want to be with their certifications.
Yep.
And if there's a certification that allows you to cheat all the time or doesn't really care, it's probably not going to carry as much weight in the market as one that doesn't.
Yep. Absolutely. So, again, show notes page for this episode is mcflugal.com/101. I have kind of a neat little Liberty Mugs banner on mcflugal.com now. You can check out. If you click that, it'll send you to Liberty Mugs. And if you subscribe to our email list at mcflugal.com, we'll send you a discount to go use at libertymugs.com. We're still adding mugs, probably going to add a lot more. In the process of adding beer mugs too. So I bought a sample. It should be coming in maybe tomorrow. So it's from a different provider. Yeah. So I didn't want to. Printful. We use Printful, and they do a fantastic job, I think. So if you're interested in doing any sort of e-commerce site like that, let me know, and I could send you an affiliate link for that. So, and also just help you out, get started a little bit. If you got any questions, I'd be more than happy to help you out with that. But for the beer mugs, we had to go use someone else. So I just want to make sure that the quality's where we would want it to be, and
up to McFlugel standards.
Yes, and also they don't do the mock-ups like Printful does. So I just want to make sure that what I put on it doesn't look stupid. So we want to make sure that when you buy something, it's what you expect it to be.
Yeah, and we guarantee no stupid designs.
Well, no, I mean most of them are stupid, but
but it's what you expected.
Yes, yeah. I mean, half the mugs are brainlets, so
they're pretty stupid.
Yeah. Which they're selling. People are buying the brainlet mugs.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's what you would think. The mugs that have been sold, it's not always how you would expect it to go. There's been a decent amount of brainlet mugs, and you kind of expect that, but like the ones that I try to make, they're like intricate and everything. And they're not really that intricate, but
just pieces of art.
Yeah. All my great artwork, they don't get sold, but just one that just says like taxation is theft.
Sold.
And just like basic print. Yep, sold. People buy that a little bit more, but it's neat. So if that's what people want, just text in basic block letters, just like 3 words, like government bad, market good. It makes it easier on me to make mugs. So, so now you get a little bit of, the inner workings of libertymugs.com. And also, speaking of which, if you want a free mug, and we'll only do this for, I don't know when you'll be hearing this, but I don't know, maybe I got to see. What if we'll do it for, we'll do it for the beer mugs too. Why not? If you sign up for the Tom Woods Liberty Classroom, and we'll have a link in the show notes page, and use our affiliate link, we will send you a free Liberty mug. So I have the Liberty Classroom. I think it's pretty good. Helped me with the Thaddeus Russell episode. I did a crash course on some John Locke
natural
lessons.
Right stuff. Yeah.
So it helped me out, and hopefully it helps you out. And you get a free Liberty mug out of it. I don't know what's better than that.
No, you could go to Tom Woods, and what do you get, like a Facebook group or something?
No, you got to pay for that.
No, you got to pay for that. So you get a free mug with us.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he offers anything. But don't go through his. Why would you suggest that they go somewhere else?
I didn't. I was suggesting they don't.
Well, why would you even bring it up? We're trying to keep people in the dark.
Why? Because we're better. Our podcast is better. We have more listeners. We're more knowledgeable.
But that doesn't help us retain that. We don't want to. We don't want to send. We got to continue the monopolization of libertarian podcasts.
All right, fair enough.
So, all right, yeah. Subscribe to the podcast. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, all those podcatchers. We're on YouTube too. Subscribe to the email list. I actually think I forgot of all the weeks to forget to send out the weekly email. It was the 100th episode anniversary. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna go to bed right after this. So maybe I'll send it tomorrow. Almost a week late, but whatever. And oh yeah, we got to check out our friends. So
Against Government.
Yeah, those guys. Bird and Carr with their podcast, Friends Against Government. Free Man Beyond the Wall with Mance Raider, Jeremiah Harding, Peaceful Treason Podcast, and the Dino Files. So, yeah, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Peace.